What has 5 levels, 2 hours of actual gameplay, and one of the most lame main characters ever? Why, it's Anubis II, of course. Oops, wait, scratch that. I mean Anubis II. Anyone who knows anything about bad games, or the term shovelware for that matter, will be familiar with Data Design Interactive, makers of such gems as Ninjabread Man or Billy the Wizard. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how they're a cancer on the gaming industry, because any gamer worth their salt already knows this is common sense. So let's just touch on the history a bit here. DDI released their 3 biggest franchises onto the PS2 back in 2005. Thankfully, we only got one of them. 2007 was a magical year for DDI when they somehow skirted Nintendo quality assurance and released Ninjabread Man, Billy the Wizard, and Anubis II onto the Wii, just in time for Christmas, actually within 3 days of each other. The Wii version of Anubis II uses the exact same engine as its PS2 predecessor. Hell, it even looks like Ninjabread Man down to the HUD, the music, and the level design. I'm also pretty sure the tutorial is the exact same too, but don't quote me on that. Today we'll look at the second of what I like to refer to as the 3 games of the apocalypse. Even though it's only been 2 years since I covered Ninjabread Man, I still haven't gotten the taste of it out of my mouth. It'll probably be comforting to know that Anubis II isn't a sequel to any other game, thus dashing my own hopes for a follow-up review in the process. The game's story involves something about an evil spirit that has thrown Egypt into darkness, and thus the Egyptian god of death and judgment, Anubis, has been summoned to bring Egypt back to its glory, or something like that. It's not that I just don't know, it's really just that I don't care. Now what I do know is that if the spirit has done anything to Egypt, he took its sprawling, barren topography and turned it into an incoherent mishmash of connected rooms, platforms, and claustrophobic caves while managing to coat everything with Easy Glide in the process. He's also summoned some of the stupidest enemies in existence. Sure, he could have summoned Ra or even a Sphinx, but instead we're dealing with walking pyramids, buzzing bees, and scorpions. Some demonic spirit he turned out to be. He's like the spirit that got beat up by the other demonic spirits and finally had enough of being pushed around, so in the ultimate fuck you to the guys that made his life hell, he transformed Egypt into the lamest theme park imaginable. The other spirits are most likely laughing their asses off at him in the meantime. You'll start the game with a tutorial that attempts to teach you the tacked-on motion controls. Here you'll learn that you could shake the nunchuck to jump before realizing out of pure frustration that it's easier to jump using the Z button. After all, it's miserable enough trying to control the game's bastard of a camera with your right hand while shaking your left hand to jump. You can also swing the Wii remote to swing your staff, which only works less than half the time. Just enough to piss off the nearest enemy to make them attack you. When you're hit, you can't attack them back. This results in some shitty guerrilla tactics where you run up, hit an enemy, then try to run away a few feet, where they'll give up and return to their original spot, waiting for you to hit them again. Seriously, it's fucking impossible to get 2 consecutive attacks in with the staff without Anubis staring at a wall or swinging his staff around like he's trying to resurrect the dead. Just try it sometime. If you've played 5 minutes of Ninjabread Man or watched any of the movies on YouTube, you'll know exactly what I mean. You also have some shitty bombs that you could throw, but they seem unable to kill anything but the final boss. Usually throwing one will move an enemy closer to you and just pisses them off royally in the process. You'll eventually become dependent on Anubis' fireballs to do all the dirty work for you, since they're about the only attack that actually works. Maybe even too well. They're totally exploitable and will lock onto anything you put your aimer across. This lets you kill everything from a distance and guarantees you unlimited lives in the process. This also makes combat, the only saving grace from the miserable platforming, a minor inconvenience rather than anything remotely exciting. Oh yeah, the platforming is utter misery. Why use your hands to control yourself in the miserable camera when you could most likely play better after taking them off with a hacksaw? Jumping from spot to spot will either cause the camera to swing around or under you in mid-jump. You'll also wonder if your next leap of faith will bring you closer to ending this damn game or throwing you into the yellow abyss outside of the level. No matter how far you get in the game, the goal always remains the same for each stage. Jump, shoot, jump, collect a ball that unlocks the teleporter at the end of the level, jump, shoot, jump, repeat. There are lame bonus stages in between levels that have you collecting bugs while avoiding more irritated bugs, but those only last about 30 seconds or so. If you're bored enough to even feel like playing the game over and over again after beating it, there's a treasure grab mode where you can play through the game normally, but only this time you have 600 ugly trinkets to pick up in addition to collecting the teleporter balls. Also, misspelled on the main menu is an artifact hunt that has you running through the single-player stages again, only this time you're tasked with picking up hidden artifacts with no navigation arrow to help you. Pure unadulterated fun right there. Anubis II is a shining example of what the Wii wasn't intended for, which was a new way to play games. It's the very definition of shovelware in every regard. It just comes to show that DDI is the prostitute of the gaming industry. They're not interested in a relationship, they're just interested in fucking you and taking your money. You can find out more about Anubis II and other really bad games at gamescrap.com.